Our movie is set in Milwaukee in the 1920s. Dolly, a destitute girl, attempts to attract Fred, a prosperous businessman, with her beauty. With a beautiful face like Dolly's, she certainly captures Fred's heart. Dolly spends all of her time at home after marrying Fred, waiting for him and serving him. She attempts to show him her homemade apron and asks if he wants to help her sell it, but he dismisses it without even glancing at it. Dolly is proudly displaying the apron she created for her pals after being inspired by Otto, a 17-year-old repairman. Otto, a pulper who works part-time, draws her to his job and is a mistress of murder. When Dolly is making breakfast for Fred, Fred seduces her but advises her to retain her mood until he returns since he needs to meet with some customers. Dolly warns him that if he takes her out to dinner when he comes to town, she'll be in a mood for the rest of the week. This infuriates Fred, who threatens her by saying that he will not exchange her affection for anything. Dolly is shocked to find herself imprisoned in an unhappy marriage. She gently convinces Fred to call the repairman before purposefully ruining her sewing machine since she wants some new thrill. In response, Fred says he'll call the repairman. Later that day, Otto arrives and is surprised to see Dolly waiting for him in a sexy robe. He checks the sewing machine and finds that it is not broken, so she tells him to take them off and rub her feet. Dolly requests that he take off his clothing after learning that he is a virgin. Dolly makes fun of him by teasing that the next time the virgin Otto returns and braces himself to lose everything. Dolly welcomes him in lingerie, and they get started right away. When Otto asks Dolly whether she thinks she might get a divorce from Fred, she replies that she is unable to do so because she does not want to become penniless like her mother. The two then begin making. She then tells him that until Otto can afford to offer her the life she wants or until something bad happens to Fred, she will remain married to Fred. When Otto visits Dolly one day, she shows him to the attic and offers him the entire space as their perfect love nest, with the one condition that he must keep quiet when Fred is home. Otto accepts the offer without hesitation. When night falls, the two begin making, and Otto overhears Dolly's moaning while making to Fred. This increases his desire for Dolly. On Otto's 21st birthday, which also commemorates the 4 years he spent living alone in the attic without any touch with his family or friends, the couple immediately starts making passionately once Fred goes to work. Dolly gives Otto a gift, revealing an envelope, and informs him that one of his tales was recently published in a magazine. Dolly helps Otto get his stories published in order to celebrate Otto's accomplishments. Dolly brings him to a club. It's been nearly 4 years since he's been outdoors. The two of them joyously dance amid the throng, but Otto is instantly debilitated by a terrible anxiety attack caused by all those years spent as a prisoner, and his body trembles. He tells Dolly he wants to go home, and the two leave the club right away. At home, Otto proposes to Dolly again, asking her to run away with him so he may have a normal life, but Dolly again rejects him. Fred and Dolly arrive early, and Otto comes dangerously near to being apprehended by Fred Doll, who can only stand there captivated and amazed as Otto escapes for his life while Fred chases him with a gun. Otto has made the decision to spend the night with a homeless man. After realizing that his life in the attic is still preferable, he decides to visit Dolly the following morning. Dolly convinces Otto to take the revolver, and she has a plan in mind. She goes to see Roy to make sure she will always be covered by Fred's insurance in the event that anything untoward happens to Fred. Dolly carries out her plan when she goes out to dinner with Fred. She purposely flirts with a different young man until he becomes agitated and causes a commotion at the restaurant. When they get home, the atmosphere turns heated when Otto hears a fight in the attic. He comes in and points a gun at Fred, admitting to having an Dolly and living in the attic for the previous 6 years. Fred loses it when he hears this and the two fight. Otto accidentally murders Fred, so he swiftly devises a plan to make it look as if it was a home robbery. He directs Dolly to run into the closet and scream as he departs, and the cops arrive soon and begin their inquiry. With Fred dead, they feel it isn't a routine heist. Dolly seduces Roy as her new lover in order to receive Fred's insurance benefits. She then asks him to throw the pistol into the river, and after obtaining Fred's insurance money, she begins a new life in Hollywood. Meanwhile, Dolly keeps Otto concealed. Otto proposes to her again so that he may have his life as well, but she rejects him again, arguing that she is insufficient. When Roy travels to Dolly's house, he learns that it is for sale and that no one is there. Recognizing that he has been misled, he goes to the cops and passes up the handgun to Detective Klein, stating that Dolly asked him to dispose of it in the river. Dolly begins to get notoriety by flirting with Herman, a renowned defense lawyer. Otto becomes enraged when he sees this and the two begin to dispute after the party is ended. Dolly receives a call from Detective Klein out of the blue, telling her that he is in California and would like to talk with her. Despite having the weapon proof and Dolly being obviously guilty, Detective Klein fails to condemn her. When Herman asks her to marry him one day, she says yes without hesitation, and they head to Dolly's home to Otto approaches Herman with a knife in his hand, conscious of the circumstance. Dolly introduces Otto to Herman as her upstairs visitor. Then, after hitting Dolly, he tells Herman that he is Dolly's slave and that she held him in the attic while Fred was alive. Herman then promptly leaves the house, and a short while after, the police show up and take both of them into custody. The trial's date is approaching. Dolly is successful in getting Herman to fall under her control, and after he defends her in court, she utilizes her charm to win the jury over to her side. Otto, in the meantime, is being honest about all that has happened to him. Otto is found guilty of manslaughter, but because the statute of limitations had passed, he was later freed. Dolly's claims were dismissed in the interim, and she stayed in Los Angeles until her passing in 1961. This is how our movie ends. Tell us in the comments how you felt about this movie recap. See you in the following movie recap.